Number 1. San Angelo Police Chief sentenced to 15 years in prison. On August 5, 2022, San Angelo residents found themselves questioning their trust in the police department after a former police chief, Timothy Vasquez, was sentenced to 15 and a half years in prison. Vasquez, who was elected as chief of police in 2004 and re-elected in 2008 and 2012, used his position in the department to do millions of dollars of corruption. He helped Daly and Wells Communication Incorporated, a radio system vendor, secure a contract of $5.7 million with the city of San Angelo in 2007. The radio system was used for first responders, including the San Angelo Police Department. In return for his favor, Daly and Wells funneled Vasquez and his music band, Funky Monkey, $175,000. In addition to that, he was also provided with luxury tickets for Dallas Cowboys and San Antonio Spurs games. While striking deals with Daly and Wells, Vasquez violated the Texas Local Government Code and the City of San Angelo Employee Manual. But that was not the only contract that Vasquez helped secure for his buddies. In 2015, when the City of San Angelo was considering replacing its radio system, Daly and Wells contacted the city about updating the radio system from a proprietary EDACS system to a P25 Phase 2 system. Considering the offer, San Angelo's IT manager informed Vasquez that the estimated cost of updating the system would be $6 million and that the offer would have to go through a bid to the city council members and talked them into signing the contract. However, he wasn't able to deceive the authorities for too long. After a second contract of millions was awarded to Daly and Wells, the FBI got involved. An investigation was initiated into both offers, and Vasquez's business relationship with the radio system vendors was exposed. As a result of the investigation, Vasquez was arrested and then presented in court, where the judge found him guilty of 1 count of receipt of a bribe by an agent of an organization receiving federal funds and 3 counts of honest services mail fraud in March 2022. Following his conviction, Vasquez was sentenced to 15 and a half years of prison, along with paying a $35,000 fine. After serving his sentence, he would also be under supervision for 1 year. Mr. Vasquez will now be held accountable for using his official position for financial gain at the expense of the residents of San Angelo. Each act of greed and dishonor affected fundamental aspects of the government processes and procedures that were designed to benefit the people they serve. Dallas FBI Special Agent in Charge Matthew DeSorno said, "People start losing faith in the justice system. People who are assigned to serve them become their exploiters. The biggest threat to our freedom in our own country is none other than corrupt people like Vasquez sitting in prestigious positions." Although Vasquez's corruption was shocking, the story doesn't end here. Number 2. Columbia Police Chief gets sued for possessing illegal firearms. On the night of December 4th, 2017, Richland County Sheriff's Department received a call regarding a vehicle driving at a high speed and changing lanes dangerously. As deputies responded to the scene, they noticed a man sleeping behind the wheel of the car while the vehicle was running and in drive on the roadway. Upon approaching the suspect and waking him up, deputies smelled a strong odor of intoxicants coming from the vehicle. The cops asked the driver to present his driver's license, which came back suspended. After searching the car, they found crack cocaine and heroin. But this is not all that the deputies found. They also found a loaded Glock Model 27 pistol inside the vehicle. The driver was immediately arrested on the charges of DUI and selling drugs. But this is not where the story ends. In fact, this is where it all starts. After transporting the suspect to the police station, the deputies ran the vehicle's tag, which turned out to be registered to a former Columbia Police Chief, Randall Scott. Scott was contacted and asked why his vehicle was in the suspect's possession. The former police chief said that he did not know. But as the investigation unfolded, everything became clear. During the interrogation, the suspect admitted that he was selling drugs. He also made a startling confession that Scott gave him the gun for protection. Not only that, the suspect also admitted that he used cocaine and methamphetamine with Scott. Eventually, the driver pled guilty to all the charges against him, and a new case was opened against Randall Scott. The ex-police chief was taken to the hospital and tested positive for cocaine, amphetamines, and opiates. Scott's record showed that he had a history of drug addiction and wasn't allowed to possess firearms. Finally, on July 8, 2018, a search warrant was issued for searching Scott's house. As the cops arrived to execute the search warrant, they found a huge number of guns at Scott's house, including a gun that belonged to the city of Columbia, which was issued to Scott during his time as the Columbia Police Chief. But the gun was not returned to the city by Scott. The police also found methamphetamine in his house. Scott, along with another individual, who was recorded as J.O. in the court records, was arrested after the search. J.O. told the police that she met Scott in 2017, and they both did ice and heroin together on multiple occasions. Following Scott's arrest, the ATF and Columbia Police Department also became involved in the case, along with the Richmond County Sheriff's Department. When presented in a federal court, Scott said that he was struggling with his mental health and that he became addicted to drugs after one of his colleagues died in the line of duty. Scott also said that he wanted to get help mentally, but was too ashamed to come forward. On November 14, 2019, Scott pled guilty to possession of a firearm and ammunition by an unlawful user of a controlled substance and was sentenced to 30 months in federal prison, followed by 3 years of supervision. Although Scott had said goodbye to his career at the police. Number 3, Bridgeport Police Chief sentenced to prison. A shocking story of police corruption has recently been released, which has rocked the residents of Bridgeport. Armando Perez, then Bridgeport Police Chief, tried to rig the 2018 Police Chief examination. The corrupt chief conspired with David Dunn, who was the city's acting personnel director at the time, to determine the top 3 scoring candidates for the position from which the mayor could choose. The plan was to present Perez's exam in such a way that the mayor would have no other choice but re-elect him as chief. Dunn oversaw the examination process and stole confidential examination questions and provided it to Perez. Perez, on the other hand, enlisted 2 BPD officers to secretly draft his exam, but Dunn didn't have confidence in his crime partner as he proceeded to influence a panelist, which was tasked with ranking the candidates according to their performance in the exam. Dunn made sure that the panelist ranks his buddy at the top, which he did. Ultimately, the mayor selected Perez for the position of Bridgeport Police Chief for the next 5 years. Although Dunn and Perez celebrated their success, thinking that they got away with their risky and illegal business, they did not. Soon after Perez was re-elected as the police chief, the FBI initiated an investigation into the matter, which revealed the shocking facts about Dunn and Perez being involved in a major conspiracy. At first, Perez tried to keep the FBI in the dark, stating wrong information and concealing facts about his criminal activities. However, he couldn't keep lying for long. His blunder was eventually exposed, and Perez was arrested by the FBI. When presented in federal court, he pled guilty to participating in a scheme to defraud the city by rigging the police chief examination. Following his trial, Perez was sentenced to 12 months in jail on April 12, 2021. In addition to that, he was also sentenced to 2 years of supervised release, along with a fine of $7,500. His partner in crime, David Dunn, also couldn't outrun the hammer of justice. He was also arrested and presented before a judge, where he pled guilty to his participation in the scheme to rig the city's police chief search and to making false statements to federal investigators. Dunn was sentenced to 4 months in prison. Commenting on the incident, U.S. Attorney Audrey Strauss said, "Today's sentence sends a strong message that public officials will be held accountable when they corruptly put their own self-interest above their duties to faithfully serve their citizens." When the police chief is involved in such illegal activities to keep hold of power, one is forced to think what his juniors would be like, who see their chief as a role model. If you want to expose more corrupt cops, please subscribe to the channel.